Peace, family. This is Tariq. Welcome back again for another day, another episode of Knowledge Corner. All right, today's insight: carry the ball. Carry the ball. Today's insight comes from the song, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door, I'll get it myself. I'll repeat that. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door, I'll get it myself. This song is by the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. This song was actually never on a album. It was actually released as a single in March of 1969. The song is about 7-8 minutes long. So back in the days, singles were on 45-inch vinyl records. So this particular song was on both sides. So there's a part 1 and then a part 2 of the song. But if you've heard the song, both parts basically equal the 7 minutes that you will hear on the song if you were here today. There is a full-length version of the song that was released on a album called Sex Machine, which was released later on, I want to say in the 2000s. But as I said, this particular song was released as a single back in the days. So part of the song that we're going to focus on is when James says, kids, get that education and don't you take no more, because if we gonna get this thing together, then you got to carry the ball. Again, this song was released in 1969. So the climate of America in 1969, the war in Vietnam was going on. There was a lot of uncertainty going on. Dr. King had literally been assassinated the year before. So James is in that generation. He's in my grandparents' generation, where they basically, in this song, James is talking about do everything on your own. Don't wait for a handout. Don't sit around, on your butt, get up, get it yourself. And that's basically what he's saying. I don't want anything from anyone. Just give me an opportunity and I'll do it myself. So that's why it says, open up the door, I'll get it myself. And James being self-made, this song makes total sense to me. If you know anything about, Mr. Brown, being called the hardest working man in show business, a lot of those, performances, he actually took care of himself. He had his own booking agency where he actually did everything on his own. So a majority of the money that James made during this time frame, he pretty much did on his own. He didn't ask for a handout. And when I look at society today, when I look at people today, a lot of people are getting handouts, whether it be government assistance or, some people relying on other people, to get them out of situations. James is saying, in order for us to get to a better place, kids first have to get an education. Education, regardless of what people think of it, education is a platform to get you out of a bad situation into a better situation. The more knowledge that you have, the more it is less likely that you will be so quote unquote brainwashed into thinking certain things. Why? Because you have an education, because you're able to actually think on your own, because you actually took the time out to study and to prep, to do the things that it takes to get an education. you took that time in order to understand that I need this in order to get myself out of a bad situation. My father's father, my grandfather, had a third grade education, but all 5 of his children have college degrees. He did what he had to do in order to ensure that his children were better off than he was. And that is what any father is supposed to do. You want your children to be better than you. Why? Because your life experience basically allows you to see where they should and shouldn't actually fall. You know, me having my own children and me having my own struggles, in life, I understand where I need to be, where my children need to be in order for them not to go down the same path that I went down. I want them to be better human beings than I was. Am I saying I'm a horrible person? No, but I want my children to be better than I was. So this particular part of the song is actually talking about that. Get off your butt, get an education. Once you get to a point where you can't take that anymore, you have to understand that in order for us to go into the next level of life, you have to be able to carry the ball. Carrying the ball basically means that you're basically taking things on head on. You the bootstraps type situation. That's what you're doing. So you have to be able to get to that point to understand that no one's going to be able to help me, especially as a man. Men, we don't have the ability a lot of times to rely on anyone to do anything for us. We have to get ourselves out of situations. And sometimes those situations can be very, very sticky, but we can't rely on anyone other than God. And a lot of times, God is putting us in certain situations and allowing those situations to play out in order for us to learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 4. The soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of a diligent shall be made rich. Diligent means, again, someone who's taking things head on, someone who is not lazy. If the Bible was saying this, and the Bible was written thousands of years ago, that should let you know that in order for you to do anything in this life, you have to have a level of understanding that no one's going to be able to help you out. You cannot rely on anyone to get yourself out of a situation. That's what makes this song for me so impactful. Outside of it just being just funky as all get out. But the message behind the song still reigns 50 plus years later. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and I'll get it myself. That should be a mantra for a lot of people, because again, a lot of us don't have the ability to rely on anyone else to get us out of situations. We have to be able to do that on our own. But you have to give me the opportunity to do that. So open up that door. All you got to do is crack it for some people. You crack their door a little bit, some people will be able to get in there and do everything on their own. That's just, how some people are. That's that hustle that some people have in them. And if you don't have a level of hustle in you, then I feel sorry for you. Straight up. Surah Ar-Ra'd. This is the 13th surah. This is the 11th verse or ayat. For each such person, there are angels in succession before and behind him. They guard him by command of Allah. Allah does not change a people's lot unless they change what is in their hearts. But when once Allah willeth a people's punishment, there can be no turning back, nor will they find besides him any to protect them. So a lot in this ayat. First off, we have angels that protect us. We have an angel that guardian angels. We have angels that look out for us. Some of us understand that, some of us don't. This particular, verse is very impactful because it's letting you know that God has the ability to tell these angels to protect us or to not. So, in order for you to get to a point that you know that these angels are protecting you, you first have to have in your heart a level of change, a level of, I'm not wanting what's surface level. I want what's better for me. Well, what's better for me? First off, to praise my Lord and Savior. That's one. First off, another thing is I want to make sure that my family is taken care of. So I got to do what I got to do in order to do that. So I'm not saying to do anything illegal. I would never say that. But I know there are some people who have made their life's fortune illegally. The Kennedys are one of those things. Their father was a extreme, extremely successful bootlegger back in the days. So that's where a lot of their money came from. But that's neither here nor there. So again, God protects us, but we have to put a level of effort in order for that protection to be given to us. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do in order to ensure that God is protecting you? What are you doing on a day in, day out basis to let, the world know that you're not just sitting around just waiting for a handout? What are you doing? I myself, I do a lot of things. One, I'm literally at, in the parking lot at work. So I'm getting ready to go to work after that. After I get off work, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get my workout in. And then I'm going to go home. I'm going to relax and I'm going to get, ready for the day. So I'm using the time that I have as effective as I possibly can. Do I have moments where I'm not doing anything? Of course. But I'm not being lazy. And that's the total part of everything that James was saying in his song, to not be lazy. We have to be able to carry the ball in order for future generations to see that getting a handout is not where, you need to be. You need to be able to get things and do things on your own. So I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I get it myself. Carry the ball. What are you doing to carry the ball? What are you doing to not be lazy? As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and positive energy activates constant elevation. Peace.